Hello, and today we are going to be talking about the 5 alarming things you need to know before starting your next diet. And first thing is how most nutritionists and dietitians operate. Now here's the alarming thing. Whenever you go to see a dietitian or a nutritionist, most of them, I'm not going to say all of them, their number one objective is to obviously get you to lose weight. But they kind of have another mini objective in there, which is to get you to lose as much weight as fast as possible. And here's why. Most of them get paid on a by session basis, so you could just, get a session or maybe a pack of 3 sessions or 4 sessions or whatever. So the objective is to get you coming back and coming back for more. And the thing is here is that whenever they give you your diet plan, most of them just put you in a massive deficit because they want you to get quick results so that you would come back for more. Now, some of you might ask, well, it's really not a bad thing. I mean, we're losing a lot of weight in the beginning. Actually, this is a very bad thing because whatever deficit you're in is not something you're going to be able to sustain. Now, I think that some of you are thinking, well, if I see progress, quick progress, I'm going to be inclined to come back for more. And this is absolutely correct. And this is what nutritionists and dietitians are banking on. However, this is not the healthiest way to lose weight for you. I mean, think about the number of times where you started in the past and you started, then you got bored and you stopped. You started and then you just couldn't take it anymore because you felt deprived all the time, and then eventually you stopped. And you ended up gaining all that weight back. So the entire system is just not correct. We shouldn't be looking for quick wins in this case because this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. We should be working on building habits, not just getting you to lose as much weight as fast as possible, because this is just something that is unsustainable, okay? Second, most diets are not designed to be sustainable, and this is exactly what I was talking about now. Most of the diets that you are going to get, whether they're fad diets or from a nutritionist or whatever, is not something you're going to be able to sustain. And here's another why. Because most of them come with a meal plan. And if you know me, I'm someone who is against meal plans. Simply because, one, meal plans are not something that you're going to be able to stay on for the long term. I mean, point out one person who was able to stick to a meal plan religiously for a year or 2. They just don't exist. It's just unsustainable. You can't keep eating out of a meal plan that you don't necessarily like for a very long period of time. This is the first reason why I don't like meal plans. 2, the thing with meal plans is it doesn't take your lifestyle into account. So think about this. You go to a dietitian or a nutritionist and you tell them, hey, I'm out all day. I have a job. I just can't meal prep for a freaking week. It's not going to work. And they say, well, toughen up. This is the way you should do it. This is not how you should be living your life. The meal plan should accommodate your way of life. If you can't meal prep, you just can't meal prep. We all have stresses in our life, and we don't need to add more stress on top of that by having to prepare 3 or 4 days or even a week of meals ahead of time. It just doesn't work, okay? Third, you are at a disadvantage. Unfortunately, you are at a big disadvantage for 2 reasons. 1, it's a culture disadvantage. We have a culture, and this is worldwide. This is not just in Egypt or the West or whatever. We have made food to be something to celebrate around, and specifically food that is not good for you. So think of this. The weekend is coming up and you are invited to your in-laws. Okay, you're gonna go with the family, have a lunch or whatever, and obviously there's all kinds of foods and desserts and whatnot, and you have to eat. You just have to eat. And if you don't eat, you are considered rude. Another thing, if you are going out with some friends, you're celebrating. What do? You go to the dessert place. and you just eat your heart out. It's a culture thing. Food, and specifically bad food, is just ingrained in our culture. And whenever someone says, no, I'm not going to do that, they're sort of outcasted. You're an outsider. You're doing something that is just not normal. That's one thing. The second thing is the media. Think of a time when you decided to eat healthy and everything you could see around you just reminded you of food. You'll find advertisements of chocolate or of burgers or pizza or whatever, and all kinds of foods and desserts, and you're just being bombarded with them all the time, and that definitely doesn't help. Another thing with the media, the social media. And you get people, who come out and give all kinds of advice on what to eat, how to eat, and what not to eat, and they have no clue what the hell they're talking about. And that's another problem. We're in an age where a lot of people who are not qualified to talk about any of that stuff, and they're just bombarding people with advice, and people just take what they say for granted simply because they just don't know better. So the media has a big part to play in this as well. Fourth, we are not wired to succeed. And here's why. Specifically, in this age that we live in, we are being conditioned by everything around us for instant gratification. Now, what does that mean? Everything around us moves in a very fast pace, meaning we have fast cars, we have fast internet, we want faster phones. There was 3G, and then there's 4G, and now there's 5G, and then everything is just moving at a faster pace. And when we want something, we want it now. We don't want it later. And this is what instant gratification is. We want what we want, and we want it right now. And this explains a bit when we walk into the kitchen and we see that chocolate bar or cookies or whatever, and we reach out to them, although we know that they're not good for us. However, we decide that feeling good now is a lot better than losing that weight and feeling great in the long term. So mentally, instant gratification is something that is really, really derailing our progress, and it's something that is deeply wired in our subconscious, and it's something that puts us at a big disadvantage. The second thing is evolution. We humans have evolved to like certain kinds of food, and specifically fatty and sugary foods. Our caveman ancestors, whenever they ate something fatty or something sweet, they were conditioned to know, I need to eat more of this. Okay, this is good stuff. And big corporations have figured this out, and hence all the junk food that we eat, it either has a lot of fat in it, a lot of sugar in it, or a mix of both. And that's why we like it so much. It stimulates the pleasure centers in the brain in a way that you can't even imagine, and that's why we are addicted to that kind of food. We eat it, we never feel full, and we always want more. And this is something that puts us at a big, big disadvantage. You are to blame. Yes, you are to blame, and this is where the entire system is set up. So whenever you go to a nutritionist or a dietitian, for example, and they give you that meal plan, and they say, okay, you go follow that, and come back in a couple of weeks, and we'll see how you're progressing. Obviously, they're the expert, right? They know what they're talking about, and they give you that piece of paper that you're supposed to follow. And then when you fail to follow it, you are the one to blame. Why? Because you lack discipline, you lack willpower. It's always your fault. It's never the doctor's fault. It's never the nutritionist's fault. It's never the program's fault, because these guys have produced so many success stories, and I mean, hey, they have a degree, right? Or they have a certificate. So they must know what they're talking about, and I'm the one to blame. And this is so far from the truth. You are not the one to blame. There is so much more that needs to go in a program than just giving you a piece of paper and saying, hey, just follow this. The dietitians and the good nutritionists and the good trainers will know a lot more than that. A good program needs to incorporate building habits. It needs to work on mindset and psychology, which is something that I mean, honestly, it doesn't even exist. I made a video about that a couple of days ago, showing you over 45 books in my library about nutrition, and none of them talked about psychology. Although it's a big part of it. Psychology and mindset are so important for you to get to where you want to go. I would argue that they are the most important thing, and yet it's the thing that no one addresses, and it's not their fault. It's simply because they don't know better and they're not qualified to address it. I hope that this video was beneficial to you. If you would like to know more, or if you need help on your journey to lose weight, get healthier, and build a lifestyle, just shoot me a message.